Welcome to another episode of Ecoville, your weekly podcast that promotes environmental conservation. I'm your host, Nonsigelelo Gwaka. Today on the program, we are focusing on sustainable farming through the promotion of soil and water conservation. We are joined by the Smallholder Irrigation Revitalization Program Environment and Social Safeguards Officer Lioli Maguma to give us more information on this program. The program is under the International Fund for Agricultural Development and is also funded by the government of Zimbabwe and aims at addressing climate change, nutrition, and food security. Welcome to the program, Lioli.
Thank you, Nonsi Kelelo. Pleasure to be here.
All right. So let's just go into it. Can you please tell us about your organization and its mandate?
Thank you very much. You've actually said part of it in the intro, but just to add more to what you've said, the Smallholder Irrigation Revitalization Program is a 7-year program funded by the International Agriculture for Development, IFAD, OPEC Fund for International Development, the government of Zimbabwe, and the beneficiaries themselves. It is a participatory project that tries to include the most vulnerable, those who are in need of the assistance. So in terms of financial composition, beneficiaries bring in 6% of the project cost, either in kind or as cash contribution, while the government is giving in 15%, mostly in the form of taxes, and the rest is shared between IFAD and OPEC. Thank you.
All right. So after that explanation, I want to go into one of the main goals in your program. Your main goal is to reduce vulnerability of smallholder farmers to food and nutrition insecurity, climate change effects, and economic shocks. What programs do you implement to achieve this goal?
To reduce vulnerability of smallholder farmers, we are rehabilitating some irrigation schemes which are non-performing so that they can perform better in order to be able to sustain food production. And also on food security and nutrition security, we are promoting production of nutrition sensitive crops. Instead of monoculture, we are promoting crop diversification. We are also promoting establishment of nutrition corners in irrigation schemes. These are learning grounds for underutilized crops. We also have demonstrations of seed fairs and food fairs where we showcase some good performing food seed varieties and also how to prepare these underutilized foods.
One of the aims of this program is to rehabilitate and expand irrigation schemes in different parts of the country. Tell us more about this expansion program.
This expansion program, like I said before, is aiming or targeting those low-performing irrigation schemes. Most of our irrigations were established a long time ago in the 50s or 60s or 70s, and they have gone, some are non-functional or some are not performing 100%. So we are trying to resuscitate and revitalize these by improving the infrastructure that is there. Because of climate change, we are also climate proofing some of this infrastructure. For example, where we had canals and where the area is highly prone to floods, we are introducing new systems, piped systems instead of canal systems, and also solarizing instead of using high energy infrastructure. So for this rehabilitation, we were informed by some feasibility studies which took us to the vulnerable natural regions of 3, 4, and 5, which are the dry areas across the country.
All right. It's easy for you to say region 3, 4, and 5. Maybe you can actually name those regions. So maybe there's someone out there who's listening who doesn't know which regions you are talking about.
Okay. These are our agroecological regions, or in simpler terms, we are operating in districts of Chipinge, in Manicaland, also Midlands districts like Silobela, Mberengwa, Lower Gweru, in Manicaland, Bikita, Zaka, Mashingo, we are in Bikita, Zaka, and Shivi districts. Also, Mat South, Beitbrit, and Gwanda are some of these dry regions that I'm talking about.
All right. So, from your answer, my understanding is you have managed to set up irrigation schemes in those areas, or
Actually, we are
expanded irrigation schemes in those areas.
yes, yes, it's we are working in existing schemes where we are revitalizing them or maybe renovating them and also expanding in some cases, not necessarily initializing them, but we are building on what has been developed before and improving on it.
All right. So you've managed to assist the farmer in terms of irrigation. Then the other thing that's also affecting farmers is climate change. Eh? How does your program address issues of climate change?
In terms of climate change, first of all, the fact that we are improving irrigation systems means we are addressing water challenges, we are improving water access. Instead of depending on climate sensitive rain-fed agriculture, irrigation systems are actually a climate change adaptation measure. And our target is reaching out to 6,000, is covering 6,100 hectares of irrigable land and targeting about 15,000 farmers. So we are reaching these farmers through training them how on good agricultural practices. These are practices that improve soil and water conservation, issues like water harvesting techniques, contour plowing, climate conservation farming, climate smart agriculture. Yeah, mostly climate smart agriculture to deal with climate change. And on climate smart agriculture, we are talking of our Pfumvudza in the dry land. Instead of just focusing on the irrigation schemes, we also work in the adjacent rain-fed areas. We have some interventions that we are also doing in those areas. We are not just confined to the irrigation schemes.
All right. In this is your fifth year of operation, right?
Yes.
So in the 5 years of operation, how many farmers have you managed to assist under this program?
To date, we've worked with over 12,000 farmers. We've got a management information system where we capture all our beneficiaries. And as of June, we had reached out to over 12,000 farmers. And the gender composition of these farmers is about 43% are female and 50% male.
Uh-huh. And in what regions are you
In
guys operational?
We are operational in Midlands Province, in the districts of Slovela, Lower Gweru, Mberengwa, and Chirumanzu. In Mashingo Province, we are in Shiredzi, Bikita, Zaka, Mashingo, Chivi. Mat South, we are in Beitbridge and Gwanda. And in Manicaland, we are in Chipinge, Rusape, and Chimanimani.
Mm-hmm. So how are the farmers selected to be part of the program?
Well, the Smallholder Irrigation Revitalization Program targets the poor, food insecure people or those who are food deficits. We have a targeting strategy and a categorization process that we use to identify these. And special consideration is given to women-headed households and the youth. And for our categorization or targeting, it's mostly a participatory wealth ranking process, meaning we select people based on poverty, wealth, and food insecurity.
Okay. Earlier on, you were talking about natural resources management, and you spoke about the practices that you are teaching farmers in order to ensure there's soil and water conservation. I would want to ask, why is it important to conserve the soil and water?
Considering that our country is agro-based and the soil or our natural resource base is the basis of almost every other activity that takes place, be it agriculture, industry. It means that we have to take care of that natural resource base in order for agriculture to continue sustaining itself or for sustainability purposes. We have to make sure that the source, which is the soil, is well maintained. We are also talking about water management because with climate change comes water stresses, and it's really important to maintain moisture and water um, within the fields. And on soil conservation in Zimbabwe, we are losing soil at a very alarming rate. Statistics tell that we lose about 5 hectares of soil, 5 tons of soil per hectare per year in arable lands, which is a lot of fertile soil that is going to waste. And if the rate continues like that, it means very soon would be having barren soil, and also the rate of desertification will be increasing.
Okay, just as a refresher, can you go over again the methods that you are teaching farmers of soil and water conservation?
On soil and water conservation, we are mostly teaching farmers to construct conservation works or contour lines. Contour plowing in Shona, known as Makandiwa, is one very helpful way of protecting both the soil and water. You can use it to retain soil moisture or to prevent soil loss, to prevent flooding, to prevent erosion. And we actually have very good success stories whereby farmers who implemented these had their yields increasing threefold or twofold just by having these contour lines. They can be cumbersome to construct, but the benefits really outweigh the efforts that go into them. Another uh, another method that we are teaching farmers is water harvesting. This can be in situ. In situ means in a place like a home, or rooftop water harvesting is one way where during the rainy season farmers can harness water from the rain through their roofs, through gutters, and using it for uh, home purposes like laundry and even watering their gardens. And I also talked of good agricultural practices. Good agricultural practices are very broad. They include integrated chemicals management, whereby farmers will be using chemicals in a sustainable way without polluting the environment. We also discourage stream cultivation and plowing in sensitive ecosystems such as wetlands, because these play ecosystem roles that are important for agricultural sustainability.
Okay. Since the inception of your program, do you feel you have introduced agricultural practices that have helped to conserve water and the soil? So, and then what is the success rate? Can you quantify since the starting of your program? This is our success rate. This is how much we've managed to improve water and soil conservation.
In terms of quantification, uptake is still low, so we are still exploring more ways of encouraging people to adopt these practices. But like I said, the conservation works have huge benefits, and it can be labor intensive. So if the process is mechanized, adoption will be higher. also conservation agriculture, talking of our popular Pumbuza, adoption rates have been very high. The last post-harvest assessment we conducted really showed that about 80% of the farmers that practiced it were very happy and really acknowledged the benefits that come with conservation agriculture.
Okay, you've brought up a very interesting point when you say the uptake has been low. I wanted to know what educational programs do you have that actually teach farmers about agriculture that promotes conservation of soil and water?
Within the agricultural community, we've got various institutions. We've got what are called IMCs, irrigation management committees. We also have environment subcommittees. We have what are called farmer field schools. We had what are called lead farmers and our agricultural extension officers. So all these institutions assist in raising awareness and demonstrating the good practices that we'll be advocating for. We also believe in demonstrations and training of trainers. So these are mostly our trainers who cascade the information to the farmers on the ground. So we work with champions who then share the information, and also through demonstrations, they can actually see that what we're talking about is not theoretical, it's practical and it can be achieved.
Okay, it's nice to hear that you are using consolidated efforts to work with other departments and other organizations in order to teach the farmers of the benefits of conserving water and soil in agriculture. Now, I want to ask, how do you think your program is assisting to achieve gender equality and economic empowerment?
To achieve gender equality and economic empowerment, we are using methodologies such as the girls. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but girls stands for gender action learning system. It's a method that we use to provide solutions for workload relief and redistribution of labor in agriculture. Basically, girls' methodologies help communities to work together to achieve one vision. So you can apply the methodology in various sectors. You can apply it in conservation management. You can apply it in agriculture, in health, in different settings. And it's really working for us in the agricultural sector. And we do have success stories whereby after using these methodologies to conduct training, we find communities transformed in ways that we didn't think of. For example, on workload relief, you can find that in areas that we are now operating, you can find men assisting women in doing some chores like fetching water and redistribution of labor. And also within the youth, you can notice that we have dealt with gender stereotyping issues whereby we are having women enrolling in some male dominated activities such as brick making and also repair of irrigation infrastructure. So indeed, the program is assisting to achieve gender equality. On economic empowerment, we are promoting projects that empower women, and these projects include PPE making. In light of the current COVID-19 pandemic, we're having women's groups that are making PPE and selling the products, getting income. We also have small community projects, nutrition gardens, or livestock projects, chicken projects, goat projects that benefit women and are providing livelihoods to them.
You've spoken about COVID-19. We all cannot ignore we're currently in a global pandemic. So, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on your program?
COVID-19 has, due to the lockdowns that came with COVID-19, actually, agriculture has been said to be an essential service, which is somehow true, but in some cases, you notice that as a result of lockdowns, we had a shift of markets, which resulted in post harvest losses. What I mean is that some areas where we knew that these were selling points for certain agricultural products, because of the lockdown, these markets either moved to much further places, or they actually were eliminated, and it led to post harvest losses, whereby crops that were meant for the market would go bad before being sold. Also, uh, we also experienced reduced workforce as a result of COVID deaths and isolations. It affected on workforce, and also limited extension services due to the ban of gatherings. In agriculture, you need to continuously engage with the extension officers and also get a lot of information. So this was affected by the pandemic, but we tried to come up with e-extension services, and these are not accessible to most of our farmers.
Mm-hmm. So, at least you are trying to come up with measures to cushion farmers against the impact of COVID-19.
Yes, actually, as a program, we have what is called the Rural Poor Stimulus Fund, RPSF. This fund is aimed at cushioning farmers, the smallholder farmers that we work with, against COVID-19. And as part of cushioning, they were receiving inputs, they were receiving post harvest equipment, they were also receiving uh, infrastructure for water harvesting as part of the COVID-19 relief.
Mm-hmm. All right. Earlier on, you spoke about eligibility for farmers to be part of your program. You said it's for the vulnerable. So, what I wanted to know was like the requirements. What do I have to bring to you in order to be a part of the program? Let's say if I was a farmer.
Okay. When I started, I talked about the government contribution. The program is implemented through implementing partners who are government departments, and these include agri-techs, the Department of Irrigation, and the Department of Mechanization. So, if you want to get more information and are interested in becoming part of this program, people can get in touch with their local agricultural extension officers in the areas that we operate in. Like I said before, that we are in Midlands, Manicaland, Mashingo, and Matebeleland South. They can get hold of our implementing partners. These are found at the agritech offices in these projects. So if you visit your local agritech office, whether it's at provincial level, district, or even ward level in the districts that I've talked about, they can get more information about the program and how they can partner. They can also get information on best practice, or information on the lessons that we have learned, how to replicate. It's not about being incorporated into the program, but they can be part of the program by getting information and resource materials that are being used in the program.
Well, you just answered the last the last question that I had, which was farmers who are interested in becoming part of how do they get in touch. Well, I hope everyone understood and got the information of how they can get in touch with their local agritechs office in order to be part of the program. Well, thank you, Lioli, for coming to the program.
Thank you, Nons Kelelo. It was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much for giving us an insight into sustainable farming practices.
You're welcome.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Okay. So thank you again to all our listeners. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow us on our social media pages. Our handle is EcoVilleZW on all platforms. Join us next week for another episode. I'm your host, Nonsigelelo Kwaka.